Hello again, my name is Gary Strawn, founder of Development That Pays, and welcome back to video 3 of this free workshop. Today I'm giving away the farm, the entire Agile Inside Out blueprint, including a PDF. Yes, that's all to come, but first a very quick recap. In the first video we talked about the F word, frustration, and how the Agile Inside Out blueprint was designed to be an antidote to that frustration. Then in the second video, we went deep on the first 2 stages of the blueprint. That was around getting specific with a particular framework and getting complete with that selected framework. Now, if by chance you haven't seen those videos, pause this one, go back and find the other videos, and I'll be here waiting for you when you get back. Now, just before we dive into the details, I wanted to let you know that the blueprint takes an approach that is probably a little bit different to anything that you've seen before, but there is method in my madness. I used this picture back in the first video. As a Scrum Master, an Agile coach, a project manager, or a program manager, you really do have problems of more than one kind. You have your team to look after, you're looking after that team in the context of the organization, and of course we're all in service of this person, the customer. And it's these 3 groups around which the Agile Inside Out blueprint is built. Now, as a marketer, I'm a DIPM, don't you know? I'm duty bound to begin with the customer. So the blueprint starts there by giving the customer what she wants. It then moves on to give the team what it needs, and finally give the organization what it requires. Hold on a second. Team first and then organization? Is that the right way around? Surely it would be better to start with the organization. After all, an agile team operates much more easily inside an agile environment. To which I say yes, it would be much better to start with the organization, with just 2 small problems. One is that it's a lot easier said than done. My guess is that changing the organization is something that is outside of your control. And another is, even if it happens to be within your control, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Organizational change is typically a very long process indeed, and you have a team to run today. As I hope you can see, the blueprint is pragmatic. It sticks to things you can control. Preamble over, let's get to the good stuff. And if you haven't already grabbed your copy of the Agile Inside Out blueprint, now would be a good time. You should find a link to it somewhere around this video. Let's take a run through the 6 stages. Stage 1, get specific. Stage 2, get complete. We talked about those 2 in length in video 2. You have watched video 2, right? Stage 3, get visual. This stage is about shining a light on your team's processes. If you've heard the phrase visualize the work, then that's exactly what we're talking about here. If you have a board, that's an excellent start. But if yours is the old to do, doing, done, then we're going to have to get into a little bit more detail. In most cases, a developer doesn't pick something from the to-do pile and work on it all the way through to done. Typically, there's a little bit of specialization. Perhaps you have a dedicated test team. You might split done into develop and test. And if you have a design stage, well, this should go on the board too. Design, develop, test. The point is to have the board reflect how the team actually works. The Scrum people among you might be thinking I'm trying to sneak in a little bit of Kanban. I couldn't possibly comment. Moving swiftly on to stage 4, get constrained. Having allegedly borrowed from Kanban for stage 3, in stage 4 we steal shamelessly from Lean as we apply work in progress limits, also known as WIP limits. It would be a mistake to underestimate this step, both in terms of its impact and its degree of difficulty. Indeed, this stage carries with it something of a health warning. If your team has never imposed WIP limits before, then you can expect resistance, pushback. You may even have tears. But I hope you'll take it from me that the potential gains outweigh the short-term pains. This stage has the power to take a group of individuals and to mold them into a team. Moving on once again to stage 5, get predictable. I used to have a management role, you know. I did. And I can tell you that the people upstairs, well, there's something that they value as much as speed of output. Actually, they may even value this more than speed of output. And that thing is predictability. Which begs the question, how does an agile team improve the predictability of its output? And if you're thinking that this stage must be about getting better at estimating, then I have to tell you that you're dead wrong. Many of the stages in the blueprint have some interesting, mostly positive, side effects, and the side effect of this one is a reduction in the time and effort spent estimating. In some cases, a reduction to 0. What this stage is actually about is story slicing. Are you familiar with the terms horizontal slicing and vertical slicing? I'm old enough to remember when we used to work like this. Database in sprint 1, back-end functionality in sprint 2, front-end work in sprint 3. That's horizontal slicing, like a cake with a bottom, a middle, and a top. The problem with horizontal slicing is that the customer doesn't see anything until after the end of the 3rd sprint. Better then to slice vertically. Pick something small and do everything, database, back-end, front-end, and get it in front of the customer as quickly as possible. Story slicing is about slicing vertically and slicing small. It's as much art as science, and I don't have time to go into too much detail, but here's something to try. Go over to Jira, or whatever system you're using, and open a ticket and count the number of acceptance criteria. Is there more than one? If there is, then there may be potential for a spot of story slicing. The first 4 stages of the blueprint are about developing your team into a well-oiled machine, an engine. And this, the 5th stage, well, that's about adding high-octane fuel to that engine. The result being an increase in speed and predictability. Teams that achieve that little trick tend to be looked upon very favorably by those upstairs. Have we made it to the final stage? I think we have. Stage 6, get your feet up. Nothing to do at this stage other than to turn around and take a look at just how far you've come and how far your team has come. Whether it took days or weeks or months to get here, you didn't get here easily. No team ever does. But that just makes it all the more satisfying. So take a moment to notice how it feels. And notice, how does your team feel? And also, how does your organization feel about your team? I think you've earned a small treat, don't you? Cocktails, anyone? So there you have it, the 6 stages of the Agile Inside Out blueprint. Hope you can now see how all the pieces fit together and how they build one on top of the other. And I hope it clarifies things for you. And more importantly, doesn't it feel good to know what you should focus on right now, regardless of where your team is on its journey? And talking of which, as we've gone through the 6 stages, I bet you've got an idea of where your team currently sits, and I'd love to know about it. Let me know which stage you are at in the comments below. And if you found this video useful, then I'm sure others would find it useful too. Please share it on Facebook, Twitter, or even by sending a link to this page. The stages in the blueprint were designed to be simple, but don't be fooled. They're simple, but they're far from easy. I'll say more about that in the next video. Also in the next video, I'll introduce you to a program specifically designed to help you implement what you've learned here today. It's a program called Agile Inside Out. That's right, Agile Inside Out is not just a blueprint, it's also a full-blown program. And in a few days, I'll be opening the doors to that program on a very limited basis. So if you want to learn how to really accelerate the process for you and for your team, that next video is one not to miss. But for now, I want to leave you with this. Just by taking part in this workshop, you've moved closer to eliminating that dreaded F word from your vocabulary. Think back to video 1 where you learned about a framework specifically designed as an antidote to agile frustration. Then you made big strides in video 2 when we saw the importance of going all in on a specific and recognized framework. And in this video, you got the complete blueprint. Doesn't it feel better now that you know every step along the way? We have indeed come a long way in a short period of time, and in the next video, I'll show you the next step on your journey. Cannot wait to share that with you. I'll see you in the next video.